I'll be completely honest with you. We showed her your videos because she's so critical of everything, and we thought she was gonna be like, this is fucking ridiculous. Who are these guys? You know,
So
we were just trying to get. We love
music.
getting like a laugh out of her with anything, but instead she's watching your music videos and she's like, this is insane. This is crazy. I don't even know what's going on, but like the fact that this guy could get these people to do this is great. This is great.
Hi, I'm Greg. I'm the lead singer for Lipstick.
And I'm Steve. I'm the bassist, also for Lipstick.
And welcome to the Lipstick panel. Today on the Lipstick panel, we have assembled the greatest group of villains known to the internet, full of hot takes to argue about an album that we're probably all pretty meh on and won't fight too hard on. We're talking about Circus.
The greatest batch of villains ever. Greg and whoever's near Greg.
Greg and whoever's near Greg. So we are talking about the quote-unquote reunion album of Kiss. And we have some great panelists joining us today. We've got Mike Walsh returning back to the show, missed Carnival of Souls, but back to argue about this one. Welcome, Mike.
Reunion with Mike.
Thank you. Glad to be back.
We've got the greatest villain podcasting has ever known, Gavin from Bent Knee, joining us again. Welcome back, Gavin.
I have returned.
Reunion with Gavin.
And much like on Circus, where it wasn't really a reunion, but there was someone new carrying all the weight. We've got a new guest joining the show. We've got Mr. Billy Business from Screen Junkies and Hot Takes with Billy Business. Welcome to the show, Billy.
Hey, how's it going, everyone?
Ringer and professional, Billy Business. You can tell he's professional. His name's Business.
Right. I mean, that's how you know he's here to get the job done.
My father is William Business, so kind of.
Please, Mr. Business is my father. So yeah, Circus. So this is going to be an interesting episode because this is our first episode we've done since Steve has seen Kiss live.
It's true.
So, as our take...
That's my new applause drop.
So as is our usual format of the show, we go around the panel, talk about our histories with the band and the album. Billy, since you're new to the show, I would love to hear your Kiss story, your Kiss-tory. So go ahead, tell us a little bit about your history with Kiss and your history with this album.
Yeah, I kind of came late to the party with Kiss. It was around like 2004. I was like a senior in high school. I used to collect just every action figures. I was really big into action figures and just putting them up on the wall, like in the boxes. And I had some of those Todd McFarlane Kiss ones. Someone gifted them to me, and I knew like the iconography of Kiss, but I couldn't tell you a single song. And then I couldn't tell you to this day why I was like, I should probably just hear one or two Kiss songs. So I just don't have these random band member toys on my wall. And I totally legally obtained the Kiss box set from the internet. And I was like, I realized I knew more songs than I thought I did. So I got really into them. And it just so happened this was around the time that they kicked off the Rock the Nation tour, and they were coming fairly close to me. So I went and I saw my first Kiss show. And I was hooked. So for me, it's like, I'm that one outlier guy that's like I don't have a problem with Tommy and Eric. Like, it's been Tommy and Eric for 15 plus years for me. So obviously, dug into the history of Kiss and all the lineups and, the albums back and forth. But that's kind of where it started for me.
So I'm actually going to shake things up. Ordinarily, we have all the guests go and then the host, but I'm going to go next because I also saw Kiss first time on Rock the Nation tour. That was my introduction to the band, Tommy and Eric. Thought it was the original lineup. Didn't know. My apologies. My voice is a little bit Paul Stanley-esque today, recovering from a cough.
That's right. We pre-recorded all of Greg's parts.
Are you going to be lip-syncing?
Yes, I'm going to be lip-syncing this entire podcast. We have enough drops of me saying this song is crappy and this song is great. We can probably get through it.
We'll put something about Gish in there and it'll be fun.
Yeah, something about Gish. It'll work.
Another $1 in the chair jar.
It's such a long drop.
You made it.
But, yeah, so got introduced to the band 2004, Rock the Nation, and, fell in love with music overnight after the show. Went back and started discovering the back catalog. I heard a live concert from the Circus tour. That opening Halloween night show, because they had it on Kiss Online. And I thought the song was really awesome. Eventually got the CD, loved the CD, and for the longest time it was the last Kiss album. And it didn't feel like the best note for the band to end on. Like we were just, we were rooting for something more. It didn't feel like a proper conclusion to the band's catalog, but for the longest time, like this was it. There was going to be no Kiss. Like this was the last music that they made. And so, as a final chapter to the band's catalog, it's kind of an interesting piece. And I think we'll get into it more, but I would say I'm definitely a fan of it, definitely like it. But it's a mixed bag in a lot of ways. Mike, how about you? You adore everything about Kiss.
I am a huge Kiss fan. Yeah. So I became a Kiss fan in the mid-90s, kind of around the time the reunion tour was going on, but I wasn't really aware of it. I was still pretty young. I was like 11. So, the internet wasn't, totally in full force, so it's not like I was just constantly being barraged with news and everything. Psycho Circus was the first new Kiss album for me as a fan that I was aware of. In hindsight, technically it would have been Carnival of Souls, but there wasn't really a lot of promotion for that one. The reunion was already in effect. So the first really new album I got to hear about and buy when it came out was Psycho Circus. And it was exciting too, because it was actually the first time I had ever heard about the concept of a Japanese import. There was this like specialty music store not too far away, and I pre-ordered the version from Japan. It had a bonus track on it, and it was just like this crazy concept for me to not just walk into a Best Buy and buy a CD, but it felt like all this extra work. And it's funny to hear Billy talk about legally obtaining the box set online. And I feel like such an old guy that I go back to a time when it really was just easier to like buy music in a store. Like when I first had the internet, it was dial-up connection. Napster wasn't a thing yet. So like, so it's just funny to me like how much time has changed in not that big of a span. As for getting Psycho Circus itself, before it actually came out, there was a Kiss fan website that had some like wave clips up put up, and it was really interesting to hear those. I was like, oh, this is so cool! Like new Kiss album, I love Kiss so much. And the clips excited me. I didn't think they were like the best work the band had ever done, and but it was super exciting to have a new Kiss album, and that's kind of just remained my opinion ever since. There's some stuff I really like, but it has never been an album that has set my world on fire.
So, Steve, how about you? What's your experience with Kiss and Psycho Circus?
So, Psycho Circus, probably the first Kiss album that I actually listened to at least most of the way through, in that, like, when I was in late middle school or high school, my dad picked up a copy and had it in the van for a while. So I listened to some of it while riding around with my dad to, like, Taekwondo practice or whatever. And then I became a Kiss fan last year when Greg forcibly began making me be one by making me listen to all of the Kiss albums in a row. And then I saw Kiss live like a week and a half or so ago. They were pretty good. They played one of the songs from this album. I recognized it because I still remembered how that song went.
And Gavin, how about you? What's your experience with Kiss and Psycho Circus?
Well, I suppose my story is similar to Mike's in that I got into Kiss as a very young kid around the time of the reunion. I was 7 in 1996, and caught wind of Kiss. Think I saw them on MTV News. Of all things, because my dad was watching, I think he was probably watching Liquid Television or something, all the weird animation stuff, and there was a news break and they showed Kiss, and I, my eyes fell out of my head, and my dad, who was a Kiss fan growing up, was like, oh yeah, that's Kiss, and the next day came home with double platinum on cassette, and I just fell in love from there. But Psycho Circus was, it was my first new Kiss album. Which technically, would have been Carnival of Souls, but that, as a 7-year-old, that never hit my radar until I just saw it one time and went, it's the non-makeup stuff. My dad didn't like that stuff, so, I'm okay. But I got Psycho Circus on Christmas I remember it was on top of a stack of other CDs that my parents got me. But, being all about Kiss at that time, this was the one I listened to first and listened to a lot. I really loved this album when I was a lot younger. Now my feelings on it have changed a bit. I still enjoy it, most of it, but I think some of it is a little bit insufferable. But on the whole, I think it's a very interesting piece of the Kiss story.
A boy becomes a man when he can admit Psycho Circus is a mixed bag.
Yeah.
You're in the Psycho Christmas. And I say, welcome, ho, ho, ho.
Oh, there you go.
All right, so you guys ready to get into this ranking?
Yeah.
Oh, hell yes.
All right, so for first-time listeners of the show, the way that the show works, each of the panelists votes on the songs from best to least best. So these are the overall votes of this panel that leads to where these songs place. So coming in as the least best song on Psycho Circus, surprise, surprise, it's I Finally Found My Way. Is anyone surprised?
How many points did this get in total?
Like
out of a
10?
possible 50, 11.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
I think most of those were from me.
Yes, most of them were from you.
Yep, more than half.
I did not have it last.
I don't hate this song. And I think this is one of those songs where you have to, if you can divorce yourself from the story of what was actually happening at the time, and you just take it for face value. It's Peter Criss singing this song. It's almost very much like it's an emotional kind of song about Peter like finding his way back to this band that he had lost so long ago, and that story of him, taking the makeup off after an Unmasked or Dynasty music video and crying. It's like, I found my way back to Kiss, and he sings it with such conviction that I fall for it every time.
Billy, you the man. Yeah, I love that. No, I totally agree. No, for real, I totally agree. That's awesome. Yeah, he sings it super well. I think it's a nice song. It's like a nice ballad. I enjoy it. I get why it's not near anyone's favorite Kiss song, but you nailed it, Billy.
So my beef with this one is that I actually think overall it's an okay ballad. Melody's fine. Peter does a good job singing it. But when Paul Stanley starts to sing in this song, that just makes this song a freaking train wreck, and I cannot handle that. I love Paul Stanley, but as this duet with Peter, where he was claiming that Peter wasn't singing well on the track, and that's why he sang that part. Which I know, try to separate yourself from it, divorce yourself from the story, and just appreciate the art. Homoerotic Paul Stanley singing this sensual duet with Peter Criss just. It doesn't work with me. And look,
it sounds like it would make it better.
It should have. I do glam rock. I wear makeup and heels. I'm into this, but it's just it's like, oh man, it's like a Diane Warren song, but not as good as a Diane Warren song, and it breaks my heart. I was like, just hire Diane Warren or Jim Steinman to write for you. That part just kills it for me.
Would it make it better if you think of it as that duet was recorded on the day that they figured out Peter was pregnant?
Yes.
At first I was like, what is this? But that's your crazy dream, right?
Oh, no, that wasn't my dream. That was a story I found online.
Okay, so there's the story you found online. Okay, but
yeah.
I think you told that around the time of your crazy dream as well, so I kind of blended it all together, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I guess the other part, to answer your Paul Stanley thing, it's like, but again, to me, and this is just maybe how I interpret it, and the theme of this kind of quote-unquote reunion, again, divorced from the reality of the situation, but Paul coming in, it's like, yeah, that's part of the story for me. It's like, do you remember when we used to dance all night, party all night? You remember how we used to have secrets because we were brothers on the road? Remember all those good times? And then you kind of messed it up. but now you're back.
But it sounds too much like a love song.
I mean, the lyrics definitely read the way Billy's describing them.
They do, but just like the
Greg, I think it's intentional.
when
Take that, Bear Frog.
It's called a double entendre or like a dual meaning, Greg? I don't know. Songwriters use them sometimes.
Steve, when you complained about Rocky Balboa and the language of film, and how Rocky and Marie seemed like they were a romantic relationship because you just got so used to the way that art is perceived.
Because that's the language they were using, yeah.
Right. And so, with the language of music, like, the way that the melody and chords are working together is super romantic. And, like, I'm just waiting for them to kiss, pun intended. And just...
So here's the question, though, Greg. Didn't they?
Now, if they did, this song shoots up straight up to number one.
Look,
absolutely.
Think of how much partying Peter Criss did.
I mean, I have read Makeup to Breakup, and as far as I know, only him and Ace had a homosexual affair. So, but I don't know. It just
so you're upset that just the lyrics are a lie.
If it was Ace singing that part, I'd be fine with it.
Oh man, that would be amazing.
Much like I promised to kind of be like the neutral guy on the Psycho Circus podcast, I will live up to that now. I totally get where Billy's coming from, and I love that, and I like it as well. I also get where you're coming from, Greg. Like, when I first heard it, I was still pretty young. I just enjoyed it. Like, I thought it had a nice melody. I thought it was a nice song. When Paul comes in, I was like, oh, nice touch. Like, I love Paul as a singer. I also love Peter as a singer. This is great. I'm just getting so much great Kiss stuff. Not too much later, I remember reading on some Kiss message board, like, some fans were like, oh, yeah, super gay when Paul sings a duet with Peter Criss. And I was like, oh, yeah, maybe kind of. Oh, that's weird. So I get how that can be a weird thing for some people. I enjoy it just as a musical touch.
Just for, stating nothing wrong with homosexuality.
No.
Obviously.
I'm not saying that. No, not that there's anything wrong with that. But, again, for, a 13-year-old boy in the 90s or whatever, you didn't want your two, who you believed to be straight heroes, like gay guys, but I didn't take it that way anyway.
Right, when you're a 13-year-old boy in the 90s, there is something wrong with that.
Well, it's just it comes across as just wimpy to me, and I'm okay with, like, certain degrees of wimpy, but this is a level of wimpy that doesn't work for me, and I think what's unfortunate, I think I do actually like the song. I like Peter's vocal. I think it might be the last great Peter Criss vocal on an album, if you're looking at it chronologically, because, once he got to One for All, he has the kind of voice that I have today, where it's croaky and it's not really succeeding. So it is unfortunate that what should have been his chance to shine, I think it's just a really bad production decision, and just kind of train wrecks what would have been an okay, slightly below average Kiss ballad.
We'll get into bad production decisions.
Yeah, into just embarrassingly bad for me.
The thing that really hit me about this song, kind of on this new go around, is that it feels like if you took Alice Cooper's "You and I" and "How You Gonna See Me Now" and just kind of mashed them together and then threw Peter Criss at it
and made them less good.
Infinitely less good. But also it's not to get too deep into bad production decisions, but it's just it just sounds hollow too.
It sounds like a song that'd be like really great on a Delilah radio special, and that's why I don't want to listen to it.
So am I the only one who marked it at the bottom just because by this point in the album I didn't feel like there needed to be more callback tracks? Like, there were so many tracks on this album that, like, this has been billed as Destroyer 2, right? So there were so many tracks like, okay, that's your Rock and Roll All Night, that's your, whatever. And this one was like, okay, cool, they wrote Beth Part 2.
Yeah, they needed a Beth. And
I didn't think we did need it. Also, I had
they felt they needed it. I get where you're coming from.
I had just been sent a link to Celine Dion's version of It's All Coming Back to Me Now. And I was like, well, I could compare it to this Celine Dion covering a Jim Steinman song, and as a Canadian, of course it's inferior.
I mean, it is. Like, that is a far superior song on every metric.
Here's what I'm wondering, guys, because I've wondered this for years. So I finally found my way. It was clearly like, oh, we need a Beth on this album. Peter does Beth. That's how it goes. Let's say they were going to stick to that decision. Would the whole overall thing be a little bit better offset if they had also worked in like a more of a Peter rock song in addition to that? Would that like ease that blow?
I think so.
What everyone's
Especially if they had a song Peter wrote.
Yeah, because
I'm thinking like, you know,
songs he wrote that he was wanting on the album. There's a song called Hope that later appeared on One for All that he wrote for the album that I think is pretty good. I think would have been a fine addition to the album, personally.
Yeah, but when he just comes back for the reunion album and his only really major obvious contribution is attempting to recreate the biggest moment from his career with the band, it just feels pandering.
Like Carnival Souls level pandering.
I mean, at its core, Psycho Circus is the ultimate pander.
Yeah.
In some ways, but in other ways, it's also very much not, which I'll get into in other songs. But because even if you look at Rock and Roll Over, right? They had Hard Luck Woman on that, so Peter's been kind of firing the ballad gun over and over in Kiss post-Destroyer history. That
metaphor, I don't even know how to parse that.
This is just the least successful of the ballad guns.
Is the ballad gun a love gun?
Yes.
So.
Yeah. Also related to the bop gun for any George Clinton fans out there.
Oddly enough, the ballad gun is actually probably more of a love gun than the love gun. Because a ballad can be about true, pure love, whereas love gun's more of a lust gun. Fascinating.
Lust
it'd be
gun
more of a
didn't test well with audiences.
So do we have any other comments on I Finally Found My Way before we move on?
I'm just delighted how much we got out of it.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like we really had a legitimate discussion about things.
Yeah, there's a first time for everything on this show. Oh, so we mentioned Alice Cooper in the last track. Speaking of Alice Cooper, Dreamin' is next on the list.
Huh.
I'm 18.
Dreaming and I don't know what I want.
I actually am surprised because I ranked it higher, and I thought I was going to be one of the lower rankers for that. So
no, you're
fascinating.
Second highest.
Interesting.
Yeah, Steve ranked it the highest, probably because he didn't notice it was 18.
Yeah,
I didn't at the time either. So
I didn't catch that. I just said, yeah, this one's fine. I mean, to be fair, if I had noticed it was 18, it might have moved down a whole 2 spots.
Yeah, so it would have still ended up in the same place in the ranking.
Yeah.
But yeah, Dreamin', I think it's I think this album overall was the right album style for Kiss to make in 1998. Where you look at Carnival of Souls and it was Kiss trying to find their place of relevancy in the 90s.
Yeah.
And, there's varying degrees of opinion as to whether or not they succeeded on Carnival of Souls. I thought yes.
there's you and there's everybody else,
Yes,
Greg.
and then there's everyone else who thinks that it was a miserable failure. But I think...
You and Gene.
Yes, but I think, there was a conscious decision to call back Destroyer, call back the idea that Kiss is this larger-than-life, epic, grandiose band. And so, lyrically, they decide, let's be a bit more ambitious, a bit more grand, not really sing just the get laid songs that they used to. So there's not a song that's explicitly about sex on this album, which for Kiss, pretty weird.
Right?
And so, this song, it's Paul Stanley, doing a sort of a mournful love song, stressed out about the state of his relationship. I think it's a great song that is unfortunately just accidentally Alice Cooper's 18 in terms of the riffs.
Also, speaking of them being retro, you notice that they dropped the G again. They haven't done that in quite some time.
Yeah. Look, all the callbacks.
They were like, classic Kiss means we don't use the G and ing suffixes. IN apostrophe.
This has what I think is one of the dumbest Kiss lyrics in it of all time. which is the "I want to know, does a frozen river flow?" line.
I kind of like
And-
that line.
I like
But
it because it flows underneath, dude. Come on.
Also, like, one of the dumbest Kiss lyrics. Oh, you sure? Oh, you really
I-
sure?
It's a pretty high bar.
It's enough for I mean,
I'll treat
it
you
was
good because I'm a bad guy.
well, okay, yeah,
My
that's
love
fine.
is like a cannonball. I'm taking aim and you're gonna fall.
You lost
Yeah.
me there. That's a great line. No.
Hot
maybe this
lover,
is-
turn up the heat. I want your sugar, girl. Your love is so sweet.
We could
Yeah,
do a
you're
different
right.
podcast, which is just Greg disdainfully saying Kiss lyrics.
Boomerang. Just the whole song.
No, I'm not doing. I'm gonna hang up right now if that's what we're doing that again. No. Back on track.
Are you a Boomerang fan?
Oh, I love Boomerang, but even if I hated Boomerang, the fact that we don't have 7 hours to hear Greg
Yeah,
shit on it
I
again.
would really rather not just Greg rant about this for 30 minutes again.
It's only because I'm recovering from a cold that I'm not ranting about Boomerang.
Yeah, half of the episode is just Greg being like, and another thing. Those drums are terrible. That's just production's so bad.
I'm sorry, Gavin. I cut you off on your
Oh,
your
no
lyric-
worries.
your lyrical dispute with that song.
Yeah, no, I just that feels. I don't have much to say about it. It just stuck out to me as a dumb line.
I mean, it's clearly an under-researched line. This is
Yeah.
Kiss's fucking magnets. How do those work? I don't know. The internet exists. What is this, Paul Stanley? Yeah, the internet exists, Paul. Look it up.
Well, I will counter with a line in the song that I love. As someone who has felt old since he was a teenager and feels much older now in his 30s and is constantly having way too much anxiety about life and death and losing people around him and all sorts of crazy things. I totally relate to that line, time's the enemy that you never see. Ooh, that gets me, man.
Sneaky, sneaky time.
So, Billy, you also ranked this one kind of low. Do you not like Alice Cooper?
Hot take, Troyan.
I'm not gonna fall for your gotcha journalism there. I think this is just the one that I probably out of the entire album that I have the least to say about. It feels to me like Carnival of Souls and Paul's solo album from the 70s had a baby and they set it to the tune of Alice Cooper's 18 and it's this track. That's not a diss. It's just
I should have
that's
ranked
what
it
is
higher.
for me.
I really did a bad thing.
Just
Describe it
is
like
what
that.
it is.
Yeah,
Also,
oh, go ahead.
the "In the Air Tonight" drum fill makes an appearance in this song. It's just voiced a little differently than it is on Phil, but that rhythm, the ba 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 ba, is in there.
Why did I rate
It's,
this so low?
yeah,
you
I-
guys are all just selling me on the song being great.
If I had noticed it, I probably would have ranked it higher.
And
Such a good
I
drum
have a
fill.
weird like sixth sense for hearing that pattern in things. So I don't blame you.
Billy, I'm really digging your contributions so far, man, because it's vibing with me a lot because there was a time like 20 years ago when Dreamin' was maybe one of my favorite songs on Psycho Circus, but in hindsight and more time to digest it and everything, a big thing for me is that it kind of just seems like it should have been more of a Paul Stanley solo song. And that's kind of a criticism I have of a lot of Psycho Circus. A lot of it just feels like glued together, mishmashed. Even when there's some good songs, did they necessarily belong on the album? Couldn't there have been a better choice? Things like that. So I really like the song Dreamin', but it is just kind of an odd fit for me.
Well, it largely
just
flows
doesn't,
like a
for
best
me-
of. Oh, sorry.
It doesn't feel like thematically like it fits with like when you look at Psycho Circus as a whole, like it's kind of like this. Half of it's like, yeah, our dicks are out, we're awesome, and the other half is like this emotional, like almost like looking back with some of with like Finally Found My Way and later with We Are One and all that stuff. But Dreamin' is like the one outlier for me that's like, what are you doing here? This doesn't thematically have anything to do with the rest of this album. And that's not to say that this is like a concept album by any stretch, even though with the first and last track you might get that impression, but it just doesn't, for me, like I'm all about the feels. Being a guy who talks about movies all the time and the language of film and that kind of stuff. Like, I'm always looking for that kind of emotional resonance, especially through an album. And this is the one outlier where it's like, it's a good song. I don't dislike the song at all. It just, like, thematically does not make sense to be here for me.
Steve, you better watch out, man. Billy might be my new best friend, buddy.
Oh man, I was gonna say, like, if you wanted to think of this album in terms of a concept album, I think the closest concept you could come up with it for it is, what is an alternate universe version of the best of Kiss released in the late '90s. Like, if they put together a greatest hits album in an alternate universe where they just wrote entirely different songs, but the similar ones were still the hits, you would end up with Psycho Circus.
Well, there's something we can all agree on. Psycho Circus is a better concept album than Music from the Elder.
Nope.
It really feels in a lot of ways that, like, just as much as Psycho Circus could be seen as Destroyer 2, it really could be Music from the Elder 2. If you look at, especially the way Gene's lyrics on, like, Within and Journey of 1,000 Years and, like, the scope of those tunes, it's very Elderian. Eldorado.
Eldarian?
Yeah, Eldarian.
Didn't we describe
we
describe one of the last couple albums as The Elder 2?
I think that was
Yeah.
Machina.
Yeah. Oh, Machina also, yeah. Really just every album is better if it's The Elder 2.
Well, this one predates Machina, so I guess this one is The Elder 2, Machina is The Elder 3, Machina 1. And so Machina 2 would be The Elder 4, Machina 2, First Blood.
Yeah, exactly.
Balboa.
Then
Machina 2, Revenge of Glass.
So yeah, any other comments on Dreamin' or Machina before we move on?
I do have a quick comment on The Elder 2 and how it was supposed to be called War of the Gods, which I think is a better title than Psycho Circus.
Yes, you are correct.
Yeah.
All right, so next up on the list.
All right.
Tis a mighty bottle of puke.
All right, next up on the list, we've got a divisive one. We've got We Are One next on the list.
Oh, no.
So, Steve, you predicted I would love this one.
Oh, you're right. I did. Oh, and you did not. Weird. I mean, you put it low mids.
I gave it 3 points out of a possible 10. So, towards the bottom. So, Steve, you know how I normally say Kiss writes really great songs, but their lyrics are bad?
Yeah, so this is really great lyrics, but the song is bad?
Yes, this is the reverse, and I'm confused by it.
Especially because it's Gene even?
Yes.
Gene be like, yeah, go team, everybody's working together for a common goal.
I think the verse melody is really good. And I love the I think it's actually really clever lyrically, where the idea is, through wearing the makeup, Gene is seeing someone else wearing his face, essentially, because he is wearing the demon makeup, but so are his fans. And so in a way, there is like this mental connection that is almost beyond words that, the band feels to their fans. And like, I think he is sincerely philosophizing. That's not the right word. But
Philosophizing?
yeah, philosophizing.
Philosophizing, Dorado.
But you know what I mean. He is musing about the philosophy of what it means to be Kiss and what kind of relationship Kiss has with their fans. And if you think about it, the place he's in, Kiss is, at the height of their popularity again, huge successful reunion tour, and he's probably sincerely thinking, what place do I have in the world? How does it affect other people, and how do those people affect me? And so you have this really sincere song, but it kind of sounds like Third Eye Blind, and I'm not super into them.
No, this song's not about drugs, though.
Right, it's like Third Eye Blind, but like super positive, so it's like extra weird. I think with different arrangement, I might like the song more, where it just, the way it's played, it just feels super 90s alt-rock, which, as you know, isn't super
it's
my thing.
totally your cup of tea.
Yeah, so, and it doesn't succeed the way where Carnival of Souls does for me, but I like this one lyrically a lot. I think the verse has a good melody, but I think the arrangement. And also, it's like the disconnect of Demon Gene Simmons.
Exactly.
You know, singing this super optimistic ballad, which I will say, this is sincere. This is very much a sincere track, and I still like it. If I have to lean like thumbs up, thumbs down, it's a thumbs up. If it comes up on shuffle, I'll listen to it. But it's like, it's close to being something I really like, and instead it falls more into the meh category than me really liking. And it's unfortunate because I love the lyrics so much.
You could think of it as a much darker song. If a demon is singing, "I see my face on all of the people I encounter," that's a really
Then it should have
bleak
been a
message.
metal song. Then it should have sounded like Zero or something.
One. Dun dun dun.
I like the song too, Greg. The things I dislike about it aren't exactly the things that you dislike necessarily, but I guess for me it's just a pleasant song. I did rank it third from the bottom, so I match on this case with the overall ranking, but it's pleasant. I get it. It's really cool. I think it's the first song on the album, like if you're going in order, where, especially when I was young, I was kind of like, ooh, what's this song doing here? Because I was 13. I wanted like balls out, rocking, awesome songs, and then all of a sudden I'm getting this Gene ballad, which now I've come to really appreciate songs like that. But at the time I was like, I don't want no Gene ballad. Like, so that's why in my heart, I guess it's never going to be one of my higher ranked songs. But I think it's very well done. It's very pleasant to listen to. It's cool. I like it. It's
Gene at his ultimate kind of mystic Beatlesy kind of faux Beatles lyrics thing, and it's which makes total sense for Gene Simmons, but not for the character of the demon, I guess. But it's I enjoy this song, I think, mainly because I just kind of find it very funny that I don't know. There's something funny to me about this song, and I think it's the disconnect between the verse and the chorus lyrically. Because in the chorus, I totally see the whole point of him seeing the makeup out in the audience and feeling this connection, or seeing his face on people's T-shirts and this connection. But the verses, I don't think, further any of that point. It's just kind of Gene. Hold your head up high, let your spirit fly, keep hope alive deep inside,
Vague affirmations.
Yeah. But I do like this song. I put it at right in the middle, right at number 5.
I think I probably had this song higher than anyone here. I had it at number 3. I love this song. I really do love this song. And I think, like, it's... I'll probably sound like a broken record here, but I think there's 2 components that make up Psycho Circus for me, and what makes it great is that a lot of it is retrospective and a lot of it is introspective. And I think with Gene here, and we're talking about, the character of the demon or something, like, to me, it's kind of, like you said, it's this moment of sincerity from possibly, besides our sitting joke of a president, the most pompous guy in the planet, taking a second to acknowledge that this phenomenon, this life that he has it's like, he's like, I look right back at you looking at me, and I can't believe this is where we are, and I wouldn't be up here if it wasn't for you. It's like all these bands and these people that talk about giving back to the fans, and I feel like it's so like insincere, and Kiss can be very insincere sometimes. So it's like, we'll give back to the fans by putting out a $500 box set, but this is like a true like love letter slipping under the door. Like, I acknowledge that because of you that this album happens. And whenever Gene can be very sincere and shred kind of the showmanship part of it, like, it very much connects with me. And I agree with you that there are a lot of Beatles influences on this album, a lot of them. And some of them work, where I think this one kind of works and it sounds kind of Beatle-y, and some of them do not work and they really bother me. And we'll get to those later. But I think this is definitely Gene channeling kind of a Paul George vibe, and We Are One. I really like this song. I like it a lot.
I think if we're going to compare the two, Trump has better clown makeup. Although it's far less terrifying to encounter people wearing Gene Simmons makeup day to day.
That's true. I will say, the verse is very Beatles-esque. I think that's why I like the verses so much. I do, the Beatles being my favorite band, I recognize those melodic patterns and where Gene is coming from. And so I think it's mainly just like, the arrangement and just how it's kind of played like an alt-rock song.
Even kind of that thing at the end, where it kind of trails off a little bit, feels very Beatle-y, just attaching that to the end. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I hear that almost more as a Smashing Pumpkins reference, too, which also would be a Beatles-y. Corgan would have done that because the Beatles would have, but yeah.
Smashing Pumpkins by way of Kiss, by way of the Beatles.
Right.
Because it's pretty much the sweet, sweet guitar tone from, the tune Sweet, Sweet.
Oh, yeah, you're right. So there you go.
I like that you clarified. Not that the guitar tone is sweet, sweet, but...
it is. It is. I mean, every guitar tone from Siamese Dream is sweet, sweet. But...
So the sweet, 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 sweet guitar tone.
Right.
Yes.
And one other thing, just wanted to, say, I do think it is clever how, as we're talking about this being a concept, a lot of these songs work so well together. Just, the line, "We are one," being echoed throughout different parts of the album, and how there's an entire song dedicated to it. I think, it's a very clever, I think they put some thought into this one. So, giving them some credit.
I
would wager it's a better concept album than Machina.
Ooh. All right, so Steve, tiebreaker on that.
I mean, Machina's not a good concept album because the concept was abandoned.
All right, so you're saying Psycho Circus is better than Machina. Okay, moving on. Next on the list.
If you think,
call Craig.
Again, if you think of the concept as, alternate universe best of album, it's a pretty good concept. But best of albums are never particularly cohesive, so...
Well, hey, you wanted the best. You got that song. Next on the list.
No.
This is me and Billy's fault. Billy, do you want me to explain myself first, or do you want to?
Please, by all means, go for it.
Okay. Let me double check my notes, but I'm pretty sure I just sort of listened to this one and was like, oh, okay, so yeah, all right, nice knockoff of Rock and Roll All Night. I feel a little bit insulted. Also, Rock and Roll All Night was like 2.5 minutes long, and this is like 4. A longer, not as good Rock and Roll All Night.
All right, Billy, your turn.
I wrote to you when I gave my rankings that you wanted the best. For me, is hands down the worst Kiss song ever made. It's painful for me to listen to this song. I hate it that much. And again, let's go back to divorce yourself from the reality. Let's just go back to what conceptually the story of this album is, which is like the return of Kiss. And this song, just like, it's the weirdest, most ass backwards way of trying to be like, hey, we got back together because the fans demanded it. But it's just like, we hate each other's guts. That's the story. There's no resolution. It's like, yeah, we really hate each other. But because you guys are whiny ass bitches, and I guess we have to do this, let's just do it. Let's just do this in the least melodic way that we can possibly do to be like, you forced us to do this. That should be the title of the song. You forced us to do this.
You made me do this.
And it totally like, it craps all over the face of like the running narrative of just like, we love the fans and we are one. It's like, I found my way after I got lost. And then it's like, but I'm contractually obligated to sit across from Peter whining. Don't sweet talk me, Peter. It's like, no, I can't take it anymore, Peter. Just like, if you're going to do this song, then let's just make the words what you actually feel. This is garbage. This is like the most pandering, insulting garbage that does not deserve to be talked about by me.
Counter. I think it's fun.
It's fun in that reality TV kind of way, which was
so 90s,
relevant for the era.
What's the payoff? What is the payoff? Like, there should have been some sort of bridge or verse where they're like, oh, you know what? Actually, I do like the music you play. You do add something to this group. There's no payoff. It's just, we hate each other. Let's just get this over with.
The payoff was watching Ace and Peter get voted off the island again.
The payoff is the most honest song on the album.
Yeah. But again, like, if I have to divorce myself of the reality of what is truly happening in the band at this time to enjoy the concept of this album, this does not fly at all.
It really breaks your suspension of disbelief.
Yep. It's like showing me a sequence from an Avengers movie, but you left in all the green screen.
Everybody's staring directly into the camera the entire time, addressing you as the audience.
This is how the Tesseract works.
Let me explain the MacGuffin.
But I every reason that you kind of, said why you don't like the song is exactly why I love it. And I think it encapsulates everything that is the Psycho Circus era. It is confusing, overblown, fun at times, not fun at others, and weird, kind of dumb, but great.
So you just described Kiss.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fair.
Because think about it, this song, there is no rational reason to put this song on an album. Its placement after "We Are One" is hilarious. If you're not a huge Kiss fan and don't know that there are more or less four guys who don't get along, then it's confusing and puts a weird taste in your mouth. If you do know that they're four guys who just can't get along, it's sugarcoating to say the least. I think that's why they're all riffing so hard, because there's actual anger that's fueling all of these lines. It's an amazing and confusing and brilliant dumb thing.
Yeah, see, I don't know. I guess I've always had a different take on it. I feel like maybe as more serious Kiss fans, we're bringing what we know behind the scenes and after the fact and all that stuff to the table. But I feel like for more of a casual listener, like, and what I originally got out of the song as a young teen was just like four bros in a band, just like broing out and rocking out and stuff. Like, kind of like how dudes shit on each other or whatever, like a lot like we do on these podcasts and stuff. And I think we're putting more seriousness to it because we know, that they didn't last much longer after this anyway and stuff. And especially with like the goofy, they're just saying weird goofy things like at the end of the songs that's fading out and stuff. If you listen to that, like I just thought it was them like, ripping on each other, having fun, stuff like that. So I think I ranked the song maybe one of the highest out of all of you.
I put it at number 2. Where did you have it?
Okay, I had it at 3. Yeah, I had it at 3. Well, and I guess for me too, of the concept of the song does give it some extra favor in my eyes. Like the fact that it's the first and only song in Kiss history where all four members take a lead vocal. Like that's like super
don't touch
cool.
my ascot, sir.
Oh, okay.
All four original members.
The first and only real Kiss song with 4 vocals. Even though I like "Don't Touch My Ascot" for what it is. But yeah, so like, I mean, it's cool. You had technically you did have "Let Me Know" on the first album with Gene, Paul, and Peter. And then Ace ended up singing later in the 70s and stuff. So it's cool to me that finally we got 4 lead vocals from them on one song. Overall, I think the song is enjoyable. I wish the chorus would have been worked out a little bit better. I feel like there's more that could have been done there, some improvements or whatever. But I like the song, and I get what you guys are saying, but I don't know. I take it as fun. I don't listen to the song and think like, man, these guys hate each other. I guess for me, I listen to the song and I think about how like my friends and I banter with each other, so for me, it's a pleasant experience.
Greg is just shoulder surfing as I Google what the hell "Don't Touch My Ascot" is, and I end up on the Scooby-Doo wiki.
Look, it features 4 members of Kiss doing lead vocals. It counts.
Don't Touch My Ascot is like a weird like little ditty they recorded for a Scooby-Doo movie.
I know, I found it.
I mean,
it's pretty. It's funny. Yeah,
it's funny. It's funny. Okay, yes.
We haven't live commented that video
band,
yet.
Right?
Yeah.
Freddie Flat something. I forget.
Yeah, Freddie's like, I don't want to listen to Kiss. I'm going to listen to the Ascot 5 or whatever.
The Ascot 5.
Yeah.
Okay, I meant officially released Kiss songs on Kiss albums.
Right.
Got me, Greg.
So you wanted the best. What I will say is the gimmick of all 4 members of Kiss singing a song is cool.
Yeah, it's
I
cool.
think the verse melody is very good. I think the performances are very good. The chorus is shit. It is a Boomerang level chorus. But unlike Boomerang, the verses are good. So I give it a little bit of a pass, even though, yes, it is a droning, terrible chorus.
And the production's good.
Yeah, the production's good, unlike Boomerang. But also, that Ace Frehley solo on this track, one of the best Ace solos in the catalog, one of the few Ace solos on the album. But man, does he tear it up. That is worth
really good solo.
It's worth the price of admission alone. The Pink Floyd-esque outro is fun. And I think just the fact that when you look at it for these positive aspects of good verses sung well by the 4 members of Kiss, that great Ace Frehley solo, I would say there's no way this is the worst song in the catalog. It is definitely not Boomerang. So
who said this was the worst song?
I did.
Yes.
And I will put it on my tombstone.
More than Boomerang? You think this has less redeeming qualities than
We
Boomerang?
could be here all day and you can throw me the entire catalog and I'm going to keep saying, nope, still not as bad.
So you don't like the solo?
By that point, it's like a turd in the middle of a sandwich. It's like, but you didn't like the bread? It's like, there's a fucking turd in the sandwich.
You know what?
You didn't like the corn nuggets?
I can't refute that. That is the best argument I've heard on this show.
You win the podcast, I guess.
Yeah, you win.
Well, we've been Lipstick, and thank you.
Wait, no, we still have more songs to discuss. Any other comments on You Wanted the Best, the worst song in the Kiss catalog before we move on?
It's everything I love and hate about the Psycho Circus era, all wrapped up into a song that's just a little too long.
I love that the 2 people who are really excited about this song are both like, I'm very conflicted about this. It's terrible, but that's why I love it.
I almost rated this number 1.
Oh, okay.
But
Gavin the villain.
Yes, I am this episode.
Somebody's got to be the bad guy.
Speaking of being the villain, next up on the list we have I Pledge Allegiance to the State of Rock and Roll.
I'm trying to figure out who the villain is here. Greg, you put this second from the bottom. Mike, you put this second from the top. Everybody else put it pretty well in the middle, where it is.
Yeah.
So I guess Greg's the villain. Okay.
Yeah, I'm the villain. So, as listeners of my band will know, I have several songs with rock in the title.
He does?
On average, 3 per album, because we have 2 albums and 6 songs with rock in the title. So, I believe in rock and roll. I love rock and roll. This song is just so meh. And if you're going to have rock in the title, you better make it awesome. Like, this is a song title that is cheesy even by Kiss standards. And also, like, I'm wondering about, like, the socio-political implications of it. Like, so, rock and roll, like, where is that state located? Is it part of the United Nations? You know, do they have any human rights violations? I mean, clearly there's probably issues with sexual assault in this nation.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So, you know, does it go to war? Are there war machines? Do they use their love guns? All these questions about the state of rock and roll.
Their public education system is pretty good. I hear great things about Rock and Roll High School.
Yes, I hear great things about it.
And the slightly more elite punk rock academy.
That's the fancy. That's where the elites of the society go.
Where they don't actually learn anything.
Yes.
And there is no PE.
But yeah, so joking aside, this song is just kind of meh for me. I know that Kiss can write a good rock anthem, and this one, it's just, yeah, it's always just been just meh. If it wasn't for just like how painfully awkward I finally found my way was, this would be at the bottom for me.
Wow.
See, Greg, I want to actually be fair with you and say where I can agree and disagree with you on this one. I feel like in the scope of all of Kiss's music, they have a considerable amount of songs that are better than this, even in the same, style or whatever of rock songs, like I Believe in Rock and Roll kind of songs. But I feel like on this album, it's one of the best songs. Like, so yeah, I mean, so I get where you're coming from, like in a macro sense, but like, I feel like on this album, it's really cool. I don't know, it's one of the ones I remember the most from those little wave clips that were up online like before the album was released, and just remember it standing out to me like, oh cool, yeah. Like again, I was 13. I'm like, yeah, Paul's declaring his allegiance to the state of rock and roll. It's gonna be awesome. Yeah, let's rock. And I don't know, like kind of what I first loved about music. Still something that I really love about music. Just that mentality. I am a complex man in many ways, and yet at the same time, sometimes the simple things delight me the most.
Greg, I think slavery is legal in the state of rock and roll. I've been a rebel for all my life. I never cared about regulations. That's.
I mean, yeah, that does.
That's Old South there.
Yeah. Oof.
Ooh. I've ranked this a bit too high, I think.
Where is Phil Lynott when you need him to overthrow the state?
I just love the idea
believe in the freedom
Phil Lynott throwing leading the rebellion against the state of rock and roll.
Yes, in Space Ireland.
I am back invested in this.
Yeah, it's just man, I like the lyrical message of just like, yeah, I really love rock and it's awesome. It's just, I don't know, it's a cheesy title even by Kiss standards, and I'm the guy who is able to accept "Bang Bang You" as a song.
Just the overall, the
that's
energy.
That's the college
like
in
the
the state
oomph
of rock.
behind the song.
"Bang Bang You," the college. That's where the nice Midwesterners go.
It's in a lot of ways, this song lyrically is kind of like if you take all the super positive Paul Stanley tunes and then showed them to an AI, and then had that AI write a Paul Stanley, follow your dreams kind of tune.
Yeah, I was going to say this is very much a Kiss rock song written by committee, which it is.
Yeah.
It had 3 writers.
Who were the other 2?
Kumo and Holly Knight.
Kumo way better on Carnival of Souls, just saying.
I like this song well enough. I think you all kind of hit it. It's quintessential Kiss in that it's like, hey, we're freaking awesome. It gets I like, there's some cool lyrics in there, like the legend, grows as the story goes. Like, I like that. I feel like that's, I like the chorus. It's a good, steady rock chorus that builds a little bit. I actually, I just had to really quick look at what, the general set list was for the Psycho Circus tour, and I'm kind of surprised this wasn't in there. I feel like this would have been one that they would have tried to kind of push a little bit, especially like, I don't know why they tried to play Within live and not this. This seems like it would be much more kind of like a live song. I could definitely see this song being a lot of fun to sing to, in a crowd of a lot of people.
Oh yeah, no, I totally agree. And I think they did it live like maybe once or twice. Greg, maybe you'll know. Was it 2003, 2004, something like that? Like,
oh, whoa.
In Australia or Japan or something?
Nation, yeah.
Yeah, very minimally. And it's too bad because, I really like the song. And Billy, I think you're totally right. It has that vibe of really being a good live song.
Do you think any of that had to do with the complexity, maybe getting Ace and Peter to learn it? No, because I don't see how that would be any harder than Within.
Within just seems much harder to do than this song. Like, this song seems like you could do this one, just on autopilot.
Yeah.
To a certain degree. You train the audience to kind of sing along with that chorus. It seems like this and Raise Your Glasses, the 2 like anthem-y ones, I feel like they're both kind of like same to me, kind of just like, okay, generic, we're the freaking best songs, but
yeah.
I don't know why this one just to me feels like one, like, especially like if this song had come out in like Sonic Boom time, I feel like this would have been like maybe their second single.
Yeah, this one wasn't even a single, was it?
No.
Yeah.
Sorry. It was put on. It was like the first glimpse of the new album when Second Coming came out.
In terms of being played live, probably the mindset behind that was on the Psycho Circus tour. They probably felt like 3 songs was enough. Clearly, they were going to do Psycho Circus. They wanted to do Within because they're like, oh yeah, we need that Dark Gene song. And then they wanted to do Into the Void because they're like, oh yeah, we need that Ace like Spaceman song. So I'm guessing it probably just boiled down to that. They were already at a point where like people didn't want like 8 songs from the new album. Well, I shouldn't say all people because I would have loved that.
If they ever kicked out Journey of 1,000 Years live, I would be very happy.
I don't know. Take 100,000 years.
Well, you could do them both.
Journey of 100,000
years.
Mash up.
So, any other comments on this one before we move on?
I pledge allegiance to it.
The writer of this one, Holly Knight, did a Less Than Jake song. I had not anticipated that.
She played keyboards on Unmasked.
Yeah. She wrote a lot of stuff. I'm just like on her Wikipedia page. She wrote 2 OTEP songs. She wrote Perfectly Flawed. What? All right.
I don't know that tune.
So OTEP is the vaguely Egyptian-themed metal vocalist.
Yeah.
Who's one of her biggest singles was a cover of Breed by Nirvana. But yeah.
Okay.
Like all of her songs are like she does the very emotive vocals, and all of her songs are about like murdering her abusive stepfather kind of thing.
Hey, I'm all into that.
Yeah, you saw her with me, Greg.
Oh yeah, I did.
She was the one who kept on like changing her hat.
Oh yeah, the hat.
We tried to see Stolen Babies. Instead, we just saw OTEP. It was a little disappointing.
It's only just now that I realized that for the past few minutes, I've had OTEP and OPEF confused.
Yes, okay, that's what I was confused. Okay, I couldn't think of. I was like, what are we talking about right now? Thank you.
By the last few minutes, do you mean like the last 15 years? I think OPEF are Brazilian, right? Like in a Brazilian death metal band, a progressive metal from Stockholm.
That's why I was really confused that Holly Knight was co-writing for them. I had no clue what was going on.
That's why I was like,
thank you, Gavin. Whoa. Thank you.
Good. They're both in similar tiers of like loud metal.
Nice.
So speaking of transitions, that's
Oh, 'tis a mighty bottle
Transition
of
button is being real rude today.
Next up on the list is Within.
Oh, too low.
We're on the top half right now.
I'm just mad because this means
that's
at
a
least
good point.
one song
Sorry.
is way too high. This is ridiculous.
Oh, this is it looks like mine and Gavin's fault mostly. I ranked it 3rd, he ranked it 4th.
I mean,
I didn't even mean this song. I just meant that means there's a song to come that I can't believe we haven't gotten to yet. But sorry, I'm looking at.
We're still...
I think I know what it is, and that's going to be an epic battle.
I'm looking at the rankings, and yes, it will. Within, a great track, unfortunately left off Carnival of Souls, but good news, it's on this album. So, Steve, you'll like a Carnival of Souls leftover track.
Okay. It was meant to be on Carnival of Souls?
Yeah, so Within would have been on Carnival of Souls.
Oh, interesting.
So it's interesting that I think this is kind of the proof that with different production, a lot of those songs would shine a lot better.
It's true. Production did help this one a lot. I think sequencing was actually the biggest thing against this, in that it and Psycho Circus were both using a lot of backmasking effects. And like having them right next to each other highlights the fact that they're using the same, let's be honest, kind of gimmicky effect. I think.
Yeah, but I think it's utilized well on both tracks.
No, yeah, that's why I'm saying it's sequencing is the problem here, is that if there'd been a song between Psycho Circus and Within, it would have been less obvious.
Well,
and it would have just been like, wow, Within has a lot of cool effects and techniques that being used.
I think the sequencing is actually very good for this track because, you know, the producer Bruce Fairbairn talked about how Psycho Circus was like the welcome to the show of the album, and then Within was like, you know, you're taking the dive, going within Kiss. And then the rest of the album, you know, continues from there. But it's like, you know, you're, you know, making this descent into Kiss world.
Descent into Kiss world.
But
I mean, I guess
you mean
that's a
Dragon
decent
Town?
point. What?
Well, that sounds like Dragon Town. Are they ripping off Alice Cooper again?
Oh, I think Dragon Town is after this.
Dragon Town was a couple years later, I think.
And also Dragon Town is a great album.
No, Greg.
No, he's right. Dragon Town is a great album.
Yeah, Dragon Town is fantastic. What's wrong with you?
Dragon Town?
Yeah.
We're talking about the Brutal Planet follow-up.
Yeah,
Dragon
Brutal Planet 2, Dragon Town.
Yeah.
Oh, that is an abysmal album.
What? All right, so you know what? That's a whole other podcast, buddy. We'll get to that later.
Let's seriously do a Dragon Town showdown.
Yeah, I'm down with that, but all right. I know that can completely derail us. I'm just going to have to plow through that for now.
Yeah, we'll put that in the queue of albums to do.
But yeah, Within, I think it's Kiss finding their place in the 90s and actually succeeding. Where, it's Gene's stream of consciousness, Beatles lyrics, but with these heavy 90s guitars. And it gives Kiss this creepy, otherworldly feel, which works well for the Demon. And I think average alt-rock fan of the era could jam to this, as evidenced by the average alt-rock fans of the era ranking this pretty high.
I feel a little insulted by this description of me, Greg.
I'm saying
I am a superior alt-rock fan of the era.
You're the superior alt-rock fan, like how Dr.
discerning.
Octopus was the superior Spider-Man.
Yeah. I mean, how many legs did Spider-Man have? 2? How many did Dr. Octopus have? I mean, 8 if you count arms as legs.
When he got Spider-Man's body, that was a deep nerd.
Oh, yes.
But I think Within it's a cool song. It's very weird. There's nothing else in the catalog like it, but I think it shines very well. Also, what's fun about this is that it has Bruce Kulick doing the reverse intro to the song, leftover from Carnival of Souls. So on this album, you have 3 different Kiss guitarists. You have Bruce Kulick, you have Ace Frehley, and you have Tommy Thayer, who, later joins the band doing most of the ghost work on this album. So you got Bruce, Tommy, and Ace all on one album. So that's kind of cool.
That is a cool thing.
I like Within. It's a cool song. I think I kind of agree with Steve about sequencing. The backmasking wasn't specifically my reason. I'm just kind of a big tempo guy. So maybe Psycho Circus into I Pledge Allegiance would have been cool. And then maybe Within at 3. Although, Greg, that point you brought up that Bruce Fairbairn said kind of makes sense, I guess. But it's cool. And again, as a young teen, still fairly new Kiss fan, I was still pretty on board with the whole concept of yeah, we need that Dark Gene song. So, I mean, it's cool. I enjoyed getting it live. Psycho Circus was my first any concert, my first Kiss concert. So I enjoyed that experience. Although there's some stuff on this song, some moments on the song, not the song itself, but that kind of break my heart and have stuck with me for my entire life. There's a few prominent moments throughout Within and a few other places on the album, but on a recent listen I noticed it most on Within, where there's this crackling, and I remember being like, what is this crackling? And I at some point I had a conversation with someone about it, and they explained to me that what that is, it's called clipping. And again, as a young guy, this was my first introduction to this terrible issue that became worse and worse in the 90s and the 2000s with the whole loudness war and everything. And so for me, it just breaks my heart that my favorite band, my heroes, were the ones to unintentionally introduce me to this terrible mastering issue that has lasted way too long. And anyway, maybe I'm the only one bothered by this, but the whole loudness war thing drives me crazy.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Although I don't know how much we can on this particular episode. I don't know how much we're allowed to complain about audio artifacts.
Well, and you make a good point though. We're a couple of dudes just having fun. I don't think we're using state-of-the-art equipment. Top notch, major label bands shouldn't have the artifacts that we have on these podcasts.
There you go.
And again, it's definitely not a Kiss issue, but in my world of music, it was the first time I ever experienced clipping and the whole destruction through excessively loud mastering, and so for me it's forever associated with the Psycho Circus album. So it always kind of grates on me when people are like, oh yeah, it's a great produced album. If I'm fair, I can get where they're coming from as well, but I'm always like, well, actually,
Actually.
A Kiss issue or a Kiss you?
I think for me,
Gesundheit.
Within is, I like the song. It's a little schizophrenic. I do like, I said earlier with Gene and the Beatles influence, like to me, like the intro sounds very much like the outro of I'm Only Sleeping from the Beatles. Like, okay, that's all cool. I like it all. Within to me is like the perfect example on this album of like, I like the sum of what Within provides better than the part, because I actually really, we'll get to Journey of 1,000 Years, but I like that this is like planting that seed. It's like in a movie where it's like if there's a smoking gun in the third act, you better see it in the first. I like that this becomes kind of a crux to what ties everything together with some of the the lyrics and themes repeated later on. So for that, like the song is fine. Again, like I said in the last song, an odd choice for me to play live. Like I specifically remember watching the Dodger Stadium Psycho Circus show on the Kissology DVD, and it just seemed like the crowd was like, what? But give them credit. In hindsight now, seeing the same 15 songs played for the past 25 years, I'm sure now I would have been like, oh yeah, throw in Within. That's kind of a different one.
Did you invert Chekhov's gun there?
I did.
I like that. That's clever. I have a problem with mystery stories that like pull out stuff at the last 5 pages. We're like, this character we never introduced was the bad guy all along. Like that. If the gun is smoking, you should have seen it on the mantle in the first act. Neat.
And it will come back for when we get to Journey of 1,000 Years, which is why I like that one so much.
And I will say that I think Within would fit perfectly on The Elder.
I think a lot of these songs would. And I think that's a plus for me. From,
same.
From this guy who cites The Elder as his favorite Kiss album. Yeah. One thing no one touched on, I like the key change jam in the middle of the song. I think that's a really cool touch. Just like, it's a really just fascinating piece all around, and when Gene is engaged and actually cares, he does some cool stuff. I've had several Gene actually cares albums in a row, right. So good for you, Gene. Keep it up, buddy.
Another random thing, I've never really, in the middle of Within, am I the only one, like pretty much his whole life or the whole life of this album, has heard a guy like getting punched in the stomach?
Yeah, it's there. Yeah.
Ever since, thank you.
That's just a guy who's getting all night.
Nice. Yeah. Ever since I was a kid, I knew that wasn't what it was, but I cannot not picture that when I hear that part in the song. And I think I told this to one of my friends, and I don't remember what his reaction was, but I think it was something like, I get what you're saying, but that's stupid. So thank you, Gavin. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's there, yeah.
The best dismissal ever. I get what you're saying, but it's dumb.
So now that Gavin and Mike are really getting along, next up on the list is Journey of 1,000 Years.
Why is it this low?
Why is it this high?
So, Gavin, this was your number one.
Goddamn right.
Mike, this was your bottom of the list.
Yes, it was.
Have at it, boys.
I'll give the floor to Gavin.
Much in the way that I say that you wanted the best is a great example of what the Psycho Circus era was. Journey of 1,000 Years is the bright, unrealized dream of everything that Psycho Circus could have been. It's epic and sweeping and grandiose without being any dumber than it was built to be, I guess. That's a hard way to describe it. It's the same. I get the same warm feeling that I get from The Elder. You know, songs like Odyssey and The Oath and Only You. But this is, I think, a much better realized version of that kind of Gene Simmons writing. It's and it's pretty damn epic by the ending. Like, when the Psycho Circus line comes back in, I am all about it.
Yeah, I mean, the Psycho Circus thing coming back in is really cool.
All right, so there you go. Mike says the song is cool. Thank you, Mike.
No, okay, yeah, well, I'll start. And Gavin, I didn't mean to cut you off if you had more.
Oh, no.
So I don't.
Okay. Oh, no, I was like, thank you.
I'll just start by complimenting Journey of a Thousand Years. So I don't hate the song. If it had been the late 90s and I was out with some of my friends seeing a movie or something and we had a good time, and then all of a sudden the end credits come on and this random song starts playing and I'm like walking out of the theater and then I'm like, wait, is that Gene Simmons singing? And I'm like, guys, I think that's Gene singing this song. And we're like, what? And then we're listening to just Journey of a Thousand Years play over these end credits of this fictional movie that I just made up. I would be like, dude, guys, that's really cool. Like, Gene sang this awesome song for this movie. That's super sweet. Like,
now Will Smith is rapping.
Yeah, I want to see this movie. This sounds great.
I'd be like, this is really cool. So in the right context, it's a well done song. It's not a bad song.
Yeah.
The reason I ranked it at the bottom, even one spot below, I Finally Found My Way. I just get more genuine enjoyment from I Finally Found My Way. I like the melody. It's pleasant to me and everything. Mm-hmm. The beef I'm taking with Journey of a Thousand Years is just, for me, Psycho Circus is just a difficult album in the sense that it's hectic and there's so much going on, and we've addressed it a little bit, and I'm trying to be fair to all parties involved. So, like, you got people who blame different sides for the album, and I'm trying to equally assign the blame. Mm-hmm. So you got Gene and Paul, who had the band the whole time. They had kept it going this whole time. They were definitely like the owners at this point and the bosses, and they'd probably become control freaks. So, okay, I'll say that's on them. But you also have Ace and Peter, who hadn't been in the band for many years, really didn't have a whole lot of solo success. You know, Ace more so than Peter, but they definitely weren't like setting the world on fire. So they were back, and they were probably trying to be like, cool, they're just back in. It's all, you know, equal, like, cool. So they were probably being very difficult to work with and, you know, lawyering up or whatever the case may be. So that was difficult as well. I remember before the album coming out, when Bruce Fairbairn was announced as a producer, who has produced a couple of my all-time, like, top 10 favorite albums. So I have very high regard for him overall as a producer. But even when I was like 12 or 13 and they announced that he was going to be on the project, I remember thinking he was kind of an odd choice. And I think the final result proves that he was kind of an odd choice. And I'm not saying, I don't know what his mindset was when he was doing Psycho Circus. I know he died shortly after. I don't know if he was just kind of in health decline already, or if, I don't know what he genuinely thought about Kiss, if he just kind of thought they were a joke band and was like, whatever, or if he did respect them, but the other guys and the lawyers and everything else involved was just too much of a headache anyway. But so anyway, the point I'm trying to make is you just have all this craziness going on, and Psycho Circus, haha, I get it. But, like, I just feel like, what is this song doing on this album? And I've said it on other podcasts, and it's the teenager in me. Like, I like my horny Kiss sex songs, and like they consciously made the effort to not do any sex songs on the album, and that's just like so not the return of like 70s reunion Kiss to me. So that's just kind of weird. So again, I like the song for a song. It's just so out of place on the album to me, and you can make the argument, oh no, it totally fits in because it does like the Psycho Circus thing. Yeah, but like, okay, like if it didn't have, you know, that's on there. But like, as a song, it's just, as a song on the album, I should say, it's just kind of like, on already what isn't like one of my favorite Kiss albums, I'm just like getting this at the end, and I just kind of want to be like, oh man, but like, I just want more rock. And again, I'm coming from that teenage perspective. I just want riffs, and I want like my nutsack grabbed, and like, I just, you know, I don't know, like. So I don't hate the song by any means, and Gavin, I think it's cool that you love it. I know when I go on Kiss message boards and stuff, most people speak very favorably of it. I know I'm the odd man out in Kiss circles, but those, if it makes any sense, are kind of like my critiques of why I'm not crazy about the song on the album.
Can I counter that with something?
Absolutely, yeah.
What I think this album does is this is the album that best captures what a lot of people think Kiss is rather than what Kiss actually is. So in the sense that a lot of people will think of Kiss as like, you know, Destroyer, God of Thunder, this big epic band, where most of the time they're just a sleazy party band. But this album, like, is the album that a lot of people, like, when they first see Kiss or hear about Kiss, like, that's kind of what they perceive as what they think Kiss is. And I think Bruce Fairbairn, when he, you know, I've heard, you know, stories and interviews about how, you know, him working with the band, he was super into all of Gene's ideas. Because Gene was, you know, wanting to be really ambitious and over the top. And Paul was just wanting to write the party anthems.
Yeah, I've read that as well.
And so Bruce Fairbairn ignored a lot of Paul's ideas and would like spend all this time working with Gene. And that's why they recorded like 20 songs for this album, because they were just throwing everything at the wall, being creative, which angered Paul, because like, this is my band. You're gonna listen to this guy over me?
This is my band, and this is the second album in a row where he's calling all the shots.
Or like third if you look at Revenge, where he called a lot of the shots on that album. So I think this is, you know, Kiss showing what Kiss could have been. Kiss is overall not this band. But it's the band I kind of wish Kiss was in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I think this is like, imagine if this was a double album with way more songs like this. This could have been like a Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness for Kiss.
Melancholy and the Infinite Circus.
But you know, with songs like this, with songs like Within, with songs like the title track, like there would be room for the, you know, the party rock anthems, but I think different instrumentation, Beatles influences, just shows what the band was capable of. And I wish, as flawed as this album is, I love it way more than the next two albums in the catalog.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's ambition, there's creativity, there's striving for more than just being, like, status quo Kiss. They're reaching for something bigger, and even if they don't necessarily succeed with everything, they're at least trying, they're at least going for it. You know, I think this is a brilliant song. I ranked it very high. I love it. Mike, you're just wrong, as per usual.
No, I get all of that. That's all super fair, because really that's what Psycho Circus was mostly an attempt of, to be, you know, a modern Destroyer being their most successful studio album. And I get it, and I love Destroyer, but it is one of my lowest ranked of the 70s albums. You know, for me, I'm more of like a rock and roll over and like a Dress to Kill guy. That's just what like ultimately does it for me about Kiss at my core, especially like original lineup Kiss. So, you know, had I been the producer or whatever, like there wouldn't have been clipping, and there would have been like more, you know, rock and roll over and Dress to Kill type stuff. But no, it's fair. And again, like I said, I won't say anything bad about the song itself. Just why I wasn't super thrilled with it being on the album as a teenager, when I just wanted more. I wanted more stuff like I Pledge Allegiance to the State of Rock and Roll, honestly. And so did Paul. And I like Paul more than Gene, even though I love Gene.
And look, I like Paul more than Gene, too. But when Gene is actually good, like, he's pretty good.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, like,
yeah.
Give him credit. Like, when Gene is engaged, he is very, very good.
Paul all the time is better than Gene phoning it in.
Well, and you talk about Gene being good, too. That's another thing. Like, Journey of 1,000 Years would have been an awesome song on, like, a Gene solo album. And like, instead, like, Asshole is just, like, mayhem. But, like,
oh, yeah.
It would
we'll get to that because Steve demanded we do it.
I'd love to be... I'd love to be on that. But yeah, like, that's the point I wanted to make. I think Dreamin' should have been a solo Paul song. I think Journey of 1,000 Years should have been a solo Gene song.
I disagree. I think it's such a great closer for this album, which is working so well thematically. Talked about how the songs tie in together. Psycho Circus ties into We Are One. You know,
and Within.
And, you know, this song, like, this is, as much as I hate to admit it, maybe more cohesive than The Elder as a concept album.
Oh, yes.
It's easily better than The Elder. But
no,
like...
not better. I said more cohesive.
It's more cohesive and it's better, but like...
I actually, they're per capita, I enjoy more songs on Elder more than Psycho Circus.
Huh.
And I guess that was a wrong use of per capita.
I enjoyed it, though. I enjoyed it. I disagree with it, but I enjoy it.
In a lot of ways, I think Psycho Circus is also, especially on Gene's end, him trying to do kind of an Alice Cooper type concept album, where they're not, they're not all like Welcome to My Nightmare isn't exactly a linear story, right? Like The Wall or like Tommy or something, but it's just more, here's a nightmare, or Goes to Hell is Alice is in hell. What's that like? I think Psycho Circus is Gene's stab at a more Alice Cooper type sweeping mid-period, album.
Yeah, I definitely see that.
Yeah.
Billy, what's your hot take on this one, if you have a hot take?
Oh, I do. Look, here's the thing. I came to Kiss without this kind of... I could see this album having this expectation, not hot off the heels of the reunion being like the return of Kiss. But I kind of and me not coming to Kiss at that time, coming to Kiss later on, I reject this premise of like what a Kiss album should be, because I now feel like there's so many different kind of flavors of Kiss that to say that one is more valid than the other, whether you like it or not, is one thing. But to say that a Kiss sound is one thing, it doesn't exist, because there are so many different. To me, Kiss is like a really high-end casino buffet. I can jump from one to the other. Is it going to be the best Italian food I've ever had? No. Like, I'm not going to Gordon Ramsay's restaurant. But is it going to be really good with a lot of variety? Yeah, and that's what Kiss does really well. So when you look at something like Psycho Circus, which to me, I agree. In concept, it almost feels more like Sgt. Pepper, where you're welcoming me to a show. You're playing out a really weird show, oddly another circus with Mr. Kite in this. And then you're but where this kind of succeeds in tying the concept together is this great like call and response. And I love that within, it's like we're talking about sleep without dreams, fly without wings. And then Gene's asking us at the end of the show, did you sleep without dreams? Did you fly without wings? Did you get what you came here, what you came for coming to this show? And then you end it with the Psycho Circus solo in this big melodic orchestrated way. Like, I get goosebumps. Like, I went through the roller coaster ride of this album. So when I get to this point, like I'm just left with like, wow, I really went to a show. I got a show. I got a full experience, which, look, I love the earlier Kiss stuff. I love Rock and Roll Over. I love Love Gun, but those are ones where I can take a track out and listen to it, divorced of the again. But this is like, Psycho Circus to me is really even more than The Elder for me, an experience more than any other Kiss album. And for that, like, I that's why I love this song in particular, because this is like the cherry on top. Was like, you didn't just listen to an album, you went through a whole experience, which Kiss really only does in their live shows. So to do it sonically, where you took me through a whole kind of like unified vision, a unified journey, that to me makes this album special.
That was beautiful, man.
That's
Yeah.
maybe the most
Mike, do you see how wrong you are now?
I was going to say, I really appreciate, and not just this time, but a couple other comments Billy has made, you really bring like that cool, I think you said you're really into like film and stuff. Like,
right.
You clearly really bring that perspective in the way you like critique things and review them and stuff. So it's super enjoyable to hear the way you share your thoughts on this stuff.
Look, I know a lot of you are in bands and all this stuff. I'm not a music person. So it's like, but by the way, half of this conversation has gone completely over my head, and I'll have a lot to Google later.
Okay, see that's fascinating to me, because like the way you've talked about this album, like I would have thought you were way more into this and Kiss and music and stuff in general. Like you're clearly getting a lot out of it, and there's been a lot that we've agreed on and a few things we haven't. But I think the way you describe a lot of it is super awesome. You should be on every podcast.
I'm into stories. I'm a storyteller, and I study and admire storytellers. So the fact that Kiss tried, in my opinion, at least sonically, emotionally, to tell a story with this, like that ambition, I can't recall another Kiss album that even tries to do that. Maybe other than The Elder, and that was kind of ill-advised in my opinion.
So let me anger Mike real quick. Billy, do you ever listen to any Thin Lizzy?
I know, like, Boys Are Back in Town, and that's about it.
How about the White Album?
Sorry,
I thought we were going through the checklist, Greg.
No. Because if you're into brilliant storytelling and music, I'm going to send you some songs. Basically, it's like Kiss, but with the storyteller lyrics all the time. I'm going to turn you into a fan, and Mike, I'm sorry, I know you're angry at me right now.
Just for the record for any listeners, I do like Thin Lizzy. Over the last, 6 months or a year or something, you've been out of control with Thin Lizzy. But we could do a podcast on how out of control you are with Thin Lizzy.
I think Steve can attest the last 6 years, the entire time he's known me.
Yeah, he doesn't really. That fight that we had on the jailbreak episode about the boys are back in town, we've had that about a dozen times.
Then you've just ramped up your online presence with it fairly recently, I guess. Like
I'm just showing up more in your feed.
Yeah, all of a sudden you're just on my feed like Thin Lizzy. It'll be like President's Day, and you'll be like Thin Lizzy, and it'll be like the anniversary of like Hiroshima. You'll be like Thin Lizzy, and like it's just everything, like
who wouldn't have nuked Hiroshima? Phil Lynott.
You're just finding ways to work in Thin Lizzy. It'll be like about R. Kelly, and you'll be like, who didn't do that? Thin Lizzy, and like just, everything, man. Good band though, good band.
Well, any other comments on Journey of 1,000 Years before we move on?
I would love to hear Nick Cave sing it.
All right, well, we are in the top 3, gentlemen. Next up on the list.
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm going to be very pissed about 2 of these.
Oh, wow.
All right. So, next up on the list, we have Into the Void.
Wow. That's surprising.
Huh.
Yeah, doesn't deserve it.
No, it's surprising in the fact that I thought this would have been 1 or 2.
Really?
I mean, we're at number 3, so it's pretty close.
It's close. No, I just
close enough for rock and roll.
If I have my checklist out, I'm surprised at one of the other 2. I like Into the Void. I think this comes fairly early in it. I think this is what the 4th song on the album. It's pretty close, but by that point, I feel like whatever grade you had given it preliminary, Into the Void, for me, bumps it up a letter grade. This, to me, is my favorite Ace Frehley song. I feel like this encapsulates the spaceman character. It's just a great riff. I just love the riff. I love kind of like the high guitar part during the chorus that I think was a Paul Stanley edition, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes,
but
the droning thing, that was Paul.
I like it. Like, to me, it just adds kind of to like the sonic space of just kind of like this one takes me out into outer space. Like I said, when I listen to these things, I'm almost making the movie in my mind. And this one, to me, is like, yeah, this is the Space Ace. Got it. Now I know who this character is. I know what the song is. It rocks hard. I like this one.
Yeah, I mean, this is, as mentioned, there's a lot of Ghost players on this album. This is the only one where the original lineup is playing all the instruments. You got Peter on drums, Ace on guitar, Gene on bass, Paul on guitar. And I think this is the one that feels most like an old school Kiss song. This is the one that has that 70s swagger to it. And it's fun, it's bouncy, it's catchy, classic Ace riff, not written by Ace, written by his buddy, but it sounds like he wrote it, so that's cool. Great solo, good vocal performance from Ace, well produced, just tight all around. It's a fun song that brings back old school Kiss, and I know Steve was super excited to hear Ace Frehley do lead vocals again on a Kiss album.
Yeah, so I was going to say, I would say that this doesn't invoke old school Kiss in that this is probably the best that I've heard Ace writing for his own voice. Usually Ace's big problem with his songs is that he will write vocal parts that are easy for him to sing and don't challenge him and are very boring. This is much more in the lines of like his Rolling Stones covers where he does interesting vocal parts and hits higher notes than his comfortable mid-range. So yeah, I ranked this one pretty low. I don't know if I probably should have ranked it higher, but looking at the way the math played out, if I had ranked it higher, one of the other two songs would have ranked lower, and that doesn't seem correct. So I guess it's okay where it is.
It's Rocket Ride. It's the runt brother of Rocket Ride that like never quite got adopted, and then just kind of looks sad at you from the window.
Dang, getting real dark with that metaphor.
I just never really. I never really felt anything for this one. I mean, I think it's too long. It's no Shock Me. It's not even Dark Light. It's you know, I don't know. It's one of my least favorite of the Ace, the Ace Spotlight tunes. The chorus happens way too many times for how uninteresting it is.
I don't know. I like the chorus. I think it's fun. I think this is one of the best Ace tunes in the catalog. You know what? Better than Shock Me. Hot take.
Whoa, hot take Troyan. At it again.
Yep. Where's that button? There it is.
You lose! Good day, sir!
Would you say it's better than Rocket Ride?
No, come on. What am I, a damn savage?
Yes, you are!
I mean, I might say it's better than Rocket Ride.
Oh, no, sir.
I don't remember what I said about Rocket Ride. I haven't listened to that song since that episode.
That song is so good.
It was on...
That was Alive 2.
Alive 2. Oh, wow.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess I honestly don't have a whole lot to say about Into the Void that someone hasn't already. Greg, you had mentioned like the swagger in the 70s, and it's got the original lineup and stuff. That's super cool. That's awesome. I agree with that. Billy, it was cool to hear you say that, for you think it's actually like your favorite Ace song, and because you're coming from a less of like a diehard purist perspective, and it's cool to hear someone say that who isn't like super attached and set in their ways, whereas like a lot of Kiss fans do rank this one fairly high for the Psycho Circus album, but also at the same time a lot of fans, a common critique is like, oh yeah, it's just Ace has to do a Space song, and they were just going through the motions at this point and everything, whereas for you, you're just like, no, I feel it, it tells me a story, I enjoy it. So it's really cool to hear that, like, somewhat of an outside perspective. Yeah, I especially as a young teen at the time, I was still really on board with, like, I wanted Within from Gene because it was the Dark song. I wanted Into the Void from Ace because it was the Space song. And so, especially at the time, I was still totally into that vibe. So I very much appreciated it for what it was.
I suppose I would have been interested to hear... Because initially when Ace wrote this was the tune that initially was called Shaken Sharpshooter, right?
I think so, yeah.
Where's Julian when you need him?
I think so, and then they wanted him to rewrite the lyrics.
Yeah, so I mean, I think I would have maybe had a bit more of a soft spot for this tune if it was the lyrics that Ace wanted instead of having to kind of, I gotta put on that old space. Yeah, he's got to be
Ace, we're only giving you one song on this album. You got to rewrite this other song to be about space.
Yeah, and then In Your Face with lyrics written by Gene for Ace.
We'll get to that on the fake Psycho Circus episode.
Oh yes, that's right.
Because there's enough other songs not on this album that we can do an entire album worth of discussion. Save that for the fake Psycho Circus episode. But I'll say this. Definitely superior to that song.
Oh, yeah.
One of the top Ace Frehley songs, period, solo or otherwise. I think it's a fantastic Ace cut.
This one?
Yeah.
You would say it's better than a lot of the stuff on the '78 album?
I would say it's up there.
Oh.
Look, I'll say it's better than Wiped Out.
Okay. Yes.
So
fine.
it might rank in the middle of the '78 album.
Well, Wipeout would be the abject bottom of the '78 album.
Better than Fractured Mirror?
No. Fractured Mirror is Ace getting in touch with his inner, like,
just jamming on one riff for too long?
Fractured Mirror.
No.
So it's
Fractured Mirror is amazing.
It's Beatles-esque, and it's like, She's So Heavy, where it's just like, here's this one riff over and over again.
Well, it's kind of like a Mahavishnu orchestra done incredibly simple.
Yeah, when you say incredibly simple, it's a little bit too long for how simple it is.
I'll hot take it up right now. I enjoy She's So Heavy. I think Fractured Mirror is better than She's So Heavy.
Okay, so you are wrong, sir. The main flaw with She's So Heavy is that there's not a ripping guitar solo at the end. So if Ace Frehley was soloing at the end of that, yes, She's So Heavy would have been better.
I had not remembered any of what I said about the Ace album, so I'm looking at my notes. I'm like, oh man, I was definitely the villain of that podcast. Were you guys saying Fractured Mirror wasn't good? You mean the best song on that album?
Yeah, no, it's a great song. I don't know if it's the best.
Yeah.
Great, yeah.
Oh, I probably put it at number 3. It would be easily in my top 5, 3 to 5 for that album.
I put Wiped Out right in the middle.
Oh, wrong.
Also, yeah, dude, that's perfect timing because I just wanted to say I've been noticing all podcasts. Gavin is a virtuoso at having these reactions like, oh, but like the tonality behind it is the most perfect, beautiful, brilliant blend of, oh, I'm a nice guy and I'm genuinely surprised by that, but also an equal part and the, oh wow, you're so damn wrong about that. Like, but I'm gonna remain polite. And it's I'm not even kidding. It's amazing. Like it's the most
politely disgusted.
Speaking of Gavin being politely disgusted, next up on the list is Raise Your Glasses.
No, why?
Because it's the catchiest song on the album?
Where did I have that one? Oh, I did it 4. Okay. Yeah.
It's the worst chorus, or the worst verse on the album. Are the verses in this song.
Yeah, dude, this is great. This is a lost Kiss classic with a K.
No, this one should be sent straight to hell, to quote some other podcasting friends of ours.
No, for me...
I think I might have that drop somewhere. Not that one, though.
Nope, that's... Hell!
That button's not helpful.
No, for me, this is everything that I pledge allegiance to the state of rock and roll, like what I want that song to be, but isn't. This is Paul Stanley, Believe in Yourself anthem. Catchy, melodic, energetic, driving, great solo, great lyrics, great melody. And you know what? I guarantee if this song was played live, people would be pumped. Raise Your Glasses, everyone in that arena has a beer. And they're all pumped.
Except for the ones whose beers are empty.
Right, the ones whose beers are empty or who are getting in a fight and are being carried to the restroom.
Well, hey, if your beer is empty, then you use that song to go fill it up again.
Greg, you do make a pretty decent point about it working live. It kind of reminded me of Say Yeah, how, Sonic Boom was not a hit album. I mean, it was number 2, and yet at the same time it wasn't a hit album. Weird how that works, but you know what I mean. And Say Yeah by no means is a hit song, but they've kind of kept it alive in the set list. And the fact is, it just works. Like, people who have never heard of Kiss but got dragged to their first Kiss show, they can recognize it quickly. They can sing it quickly. It's enjoyable. And I totally agree. Raise Your Glasses would have that same effect where people would just be singing, yeah, glasses, let's get drunk. Like, it would just, yeah. It
but
would
look, I'm
go
straight
over.
edge, and I love this song because it's a celebration.
Oh yeah, no, I hear you. Yeah.
It is celebrating.
Yeah, I don't love it for the drinking connotation. I don't even think it's a drinking song. It's not like, oh, raise your glasses so we can get trashed. It's just an anthemic great song.
Standing proud because we're the champions. Reunion era Kiss. Yeah, I buy it. This is Paul Stanley doing Paul Stanley perfectly. This is a great song. And I'm glad Steve likes it too, because I feel like I take crazy pills and I'm the only one who recognizes how brilliant the song is.
No, yeah, like normally by the time I'm 7 tracks into a Kiss album, I'm pretty done with it. But I got to this one and was like, begrudgingly like, okay, no, this is just incredibly catchy. These are good melodies.
Steve, this is why we're such odd best friends, because you're an enigma, man. You hate a lot of things I love, and that, like 2 of your favorite Kiss songs are Crazy Crazy Nights, which I heard you singing a couple podcasts ago after we were done recording, but I hadn't hung up yet. You're like, these are crazy, crazy, crazy nights. I heard that, buddy. And now you love this one, so super cool.
He was even standing up for Crazy Nights on the Smashing Pumpkins album we did the other day.
Yeah, I love it.
Looks a good song.
But yeah, this is Believe in Yourself, Paul Stanley. I don't understand why Kiss fans don't love this one. For me, this is Kiss doing Kiss right. One of my favorite deep cuts in the catalog.
The chorus would work nicely for a football, like a football montage.
Sir, why do you hate America?
American football or soccer?
Oh, American football.
I'm being stupid. I'm just kidding.
I feel like much of this song would work as a montage. All those lyrics about I kept on punching back until I succeeded.
Yeah.
Somebody was watching Rocky.
Also, as a Doors fan, I like the line "We couldn't get much higher." Like, that's kind of cool because, it's reminding me of the Doors.
Oh yeah, I never thought of it.
A line like that feels disingenuous from Paul Stanley, though.
I don't think it does because Paul.
We couldn't get much soberer.
Well, here's what I'm saying is Paul Stanley just sincerely loves 60s rock bands. And so for me, I view it as like him doing a tip of the hat to the Doors. And I find that to be completely sincere and awesome. Speaking
of tips of the hat, I don't even know if this was an intentional or not, but as a Kiss fan, I dig how there's like that little towards the end of the song, there's like that vocal effect on Paul's voice, kind of similar to the vocal effect on "Do You Love Me?"
Oh, the kind of the phaser thing.
Yeah, which I don't know if they were going for a Destroyer Part 2. Maybe it was intentional. I don't know. But I like it. I like touches like that.
Well, but I don't know.
I'm not saying that makes the song.
Oh, no.
Look, Gavin, according to math, this song is great. You're a part of the problem. This is democracy.
Yeah, oh no, well, if I would have known that everyone else thought so highly of this, I would have left it off my list.
All right, so Billy, you put this right smack dab in the middle. What do you think?
I think that's exactly where it belongs. It's a happy meal, man. Like, it's not good, but it's not bad. And I'll enjoy it every once in a while.
And it comes with a toy.
Yeah, it comes with like a sweet toy of the Penguin, from Batman Returns. It makes me happy.
Yeah, until McDonald's has to pull their sponsorship because kids are crying. I do think that, look, I tend to like the Kiss songs too that are very much "Our dicks are out, we are awesome." I think this is just on par with "I Pledge Allegiance." I think I like this one it was a toss-up between those two. What this one does benefit from, for me, though, is coming right after my most hated Kiss song of all time. Honestly, you could put a 3-minute loop of Fran Drescher laughing after You Want It the Best, and it would probably be a nice uptick from that. So this just benefits. This is like when they put a new sitcom after a really well established show. This just benefits from placing.
I don't know. For me, this is a Lost Kiss classic with a K.
I disagree with you.
Wait, Greg, where did you have it in your individual ranking?
I had it at number 2. The top 4 are in the order of my ranking, just through virtue of math, not through me cheating.
A little bit through Greg cheating.
This isn't a 2000 Florida situation, no hanging chads, none of that. But, look, apparently me, the agent of chaos, has the pulse on what the world thinks about Psycho Circus. Or at least the world size sample of this panel.
The world of these, 5 people.
Only one song of my top 4 is in the top 3, and it's the song we haven't got to yet. But I had Journey of 1,000 Years at 1, and you wanted the best at 2.
Yeah, you did. So speaking of the number one song, let's go through the ranking from the bottom to the top. Your voice is working better than mine today. Help me out.
It's probably fair. So, ranking from the bottom to the top, we had I Finally Found My Way, Dreamin', We Are One, You Wanted the Best, I Pledge Allegiance to the State of Rock and Roll, Within, Journey of 1,000 Years, Into the Void, Raise Your Glass, but the best song on the album Psycho Circus by Kiss is Psycho Circus by Kiss.
Yeah, this would be a unanimous landslide victory.
Yeah, nobody put it below third. It was over a dozen points ahead of the next one.
Yeah, so Raise Your Glasses had a total of 34 points. So the max possible on this episode would be 50 points. Psycho Circus got 47.
So was I the only one to not put it at number 1?
No, I put it at number 2.
Oh, okay.
Behind Raise Your Glass.
Yeah, which, Raise Your Glasses, all-time classic.
Right. Sorry, Gavin.
Just disappointing. I'm not mad.
I'm just disappointed.
Yeah, so myself, Mike, and Billy win the panel. We were correct in ranking this at number 1.
Is that how it works? I thought Billy already won, 4 songs in.
Oh, yeah, he won pretty early on.
For my money, I still think, I've seen Kiss, I don't know, almost 20 times now since that Rock the Nation tour.
Dang.
Yeah,
I've seen them about 20 times, but since '98, so you caught up.
Yeah, when you said he wasn't a diehard, Mike, I was about to correct you. Like, nah, this dude will crush you, bro.
I have the benefit of living in Southern California, so on those big tours, I can go to a Fresno, Anaheim, Los Angeles, San Diego, all in one swoop. Yeah. Which is saying I have. But I will say, I still think Psycho Circus, the song, to me, is actually my favorite Kiss opener for a live show. I think it sets the tone perfectly. It's a great rocking song with a great solo. I love that solo. I love that they used it again later on. And I also just love that, and look, I could be very wrong on this, but I feel like this was the first time that Kiss gets almost kind of meta and breaks the fourth wall with the makeup running down my face. And it's just you think about all these Kiss songs, they never really acknowledged the fact that they are an entertainment group, that they are these crazy showmen. They're just dudes that like to screw chicks. But it's
we just happen to be dressed like clowns while we do it.
Right, but it's here I am on the stage. You are coming into my domain now. There's going to be fire that's going to literally melt the makeup off my face, and we're not going to let you go until we're ready. So sit back, welcome to the show. I don't know what else could get you more amped for Kiss than just this grandiose thesis statement of what Psycho Circus is.
It's Alice Cooper's Hello Hooray meets Detroit Rock City.
It's great.
Yeah, that's a really good analysis. And what I would say is, it's a great opener for Kiss, and I think it's a lot more awkward when it's in the middle of the set. Like when we saw them on this last tour, it's Psycho Circus, welcome to the show, right in the middle. It's
you've been in the Psycho Circus for some time.
Right.
They opened their 40th anniversary tour in 2014 with Psycho Circus, and I agree, it works much better at the start than randomly in the middle.
Welcome back to the show from your bathroom break.
I agree, ideally, and yet at the same time, I'm guessing most of us agree, but tell me if I'm wrong, anyone. It's still very much appreciated, even when it is in the middle of the set. I feel like it really works live either way.
Oh, yeah. Sure. It's great to hear it either way. And, look, when you also have options of Deuce and I Stole Your Love, I can get why you might not go Psycho Circus, even though I think I might actually agree with Billy that's the best opener for a Kiss show. I think.
By the way, Greg, when I said that Billy wasn't a diehard, I thought that's how he was describing himself. So by no means was I trying to dismiss him as an inferior Kiss fan. I thought he was I don't really like music. I'm more of a film guy. Turns out this guy's a Kiss expert.
No, I would say more. It's I think you're split the difference. I love Kiss probably for the same reason that I love professional wrestling and superhero movies. It's this larger than life theatricality. So I'm not a walking thesaurus on any band from the 80s or the 70s, but for this one in particular, I think that's why I enjoy Kiss and just the whole like larger than life grandiose spectacle of it all. So that's why like with Psycho Circus in particular and that song, it's like it just grabs you by the balls. It's like I'm going to take you on this ride. That's why I love that song so much.
Yeah, I mean, it has a phenomenal vocal melody from Paul Stanley. One of the best solos in the catalog, played by Mr. Tommy Thayer. You know, people who give him crap. Listen to that solo. Can't deny it's a classic solo in the catalog. This is a Kiss classic with a K.
I agree.
It's a perfect song, and this is like what they needed to do for the 90s to be both relevant to the day and also still be Kiss. Where Carnival Souls might have been them, you know, going too far one direction, this is successfully making the band contemporary.
This is the Kiss equivalent of The Force Awakens. A recapitulation of a theme for a new era.
Hot take, Last Jedi is the best Star Wars movie.
What a guy.
Not entirely a hot take. I would be prone to agree with you.
Did we just become best friends?
First off, I thought we already were, Greg. Second off, yes.
Did you just stop being best friends?
Yeah.
Well, he was, you know, ragging on Raise Your Glasses, so I'm like, I don't know about Gavin.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, Last Jedi is great, and anyone who disagrees is...
I mean, usually they're toxic men's rights activists.
Yeah, who was it? Richard Spencer has a 45-minute takedown of Last Jedi on YouTube.
See, the important thing
guy.
is it takes Richard Spencer 45 minutes to take down Last Jedi. It takes a cool dude in a mask about 2 to take down Richard Spencer.
Very true.
So,
Steve, what did you think about this cut?
The song. It was. I mean, it's the single for a reason. It's a really well put together song. I mean, it's no Raise Your Glasses, but it's good.
Yeah, and it's the song from this album that has stood the test of time.
Yeah.
Like, as much as there's debate on the other tracks, there's pretty much no debate on this. Everyone just generally thinks it's really good.
Although apparently they didn't play it on the Raucous Maximus tour. Dun dun dun.
The what?
Roximus Maximus?
The World Domination Tour.
With Aerosmith.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that was what the Aerosmith tour was called.
I think it was called Raucous Maximus for Aerosmith.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I see.
Which, Mike, you went to that tour, and weren't you heartbroken because, like, both bands played shorter sets?
Yeah, interesting that should come up because I didn't see it coming up today. So when I was initially a Kiss fan, well, because I fell in love with music because of Aerosmith, and then so I loved them, and then it came about that there was this other band called Kiss, and I'm like, holy crap, I like this band even better. So for many years of my life, it was just Kiss and Aerosmith. These were these juggernauts from the '70s. I loved them. They had these long careers. They've both gone through, highs and lows. They both had their 70s periods and their 80s periods, and just loved them. And so as a kid, 11, 12, 13, whatever, I was always like, dude, wouldn't like a double tour be like the coolest thing ever? Like, why not just get both my bands? And just like, I was just picturing the most amazing thing ever without really having the logistics in mind of, each band would kind of play shorter set lists and things like that. So brokenhearted, in a way, yes. At the same time, it's not like I didn't enjoy the show. I loved seeing both bands. But each one, I've seen each band, Kiss about 20 times now. Aerosmith's got to be in the double digits. And that show for each one has to be probably the worst I've seen each band. Not that they sucked or anything, but you just got less, I guess. You got an amazing package, but of like compromised parts.
You know who I'd probably pin that on? Saliva.
Exactly. Saliva took up all that time in their set, but no, yeah, so plus, I don't know, Aerosmith was doing the whole honking on Bobo thing, and that really isn't my thing, and Steve and I know you're a fellow not blues guy like me, and
yeah.
So yeah, that was probably a way longer answer than you wanted, Greg. But yes, it was not. It was a dream come true, and it made me realize, I guess the old saying, "Be careful what you wish for."
Right. Don't meet your heroes. Greg's voice is apparently completely gone.
It's not completely gone.
I'm like, well, who is texting me right now? I pick up my phone and it's Greg saying, "Hey, Steve,
yeah." So I was trying to text you to, hey, carry the outro for me so I don't have to talk and explain it on mic. Thanks for that.
You're welcome. I mean, you're gonna edit it, so you can cut this part out.
Yeah, but
this has to stay in.
Yeah, now it has to stay in.
This is the cold open.
Yeah, no, this is the look. In the ways that we continue to rip off Kiss as lipstick, I am now the Paul Stanley, the awkward, hoarse-voiced frontman who needs his bassist to carry the weight.
Bassist do all the work.
We're dropping Hide Your Heart for calling Dr. Love.
Acceptable.
It broke my heart, but I get it.
Hide your broken
it makes
heart.
sense that yeah.
All right, so what I was asking you to do, Steve, is ask our panelists.
All right, yeah. So does anybody have any more thoughts on Psycho Circus, or
how do they feel about the overall ranking?
Yeah, how do you like how?
You know how this show works,
right? I mean, do you think I pay attention?
Yeah, I feel like this album, especially for a lot of Kiss fans around who are now around the age of 30, or I guess in the millennial camp. We're the millennial falcons of the Kiss world, I guess.
Or the younger Kiss fans, at least.
Yeah. I feel like this is a very important album we've had. Us. That's a good point.
Yeah, I feel weird being the old dude here.
Yeah. Which I realize now, saying Millennial Falcon was there's a YouTube series called Millennial Falcon, which is millennial Star Wars fans. Very funny show, but. I feel like this is a very important album for us younger Kiss fans, and I feel almost like, and I don't know if this is anybody else, but at least for myself, I tend to kind of gloss this with a kind of a hazy, like, oh man, I remember being 8 and hearing this for the first time. But I'm also able to, I feel, look at it from a more jaded 30-something with some experience about, of what it's like to be in a band and record stuff. And it's a very interesting album on both levels, and Raise Your Glasses should not have been that high. You're all full of shit.
Billy, what did you think of this album overall? The rankings, were you surprised? Did things land where you thought they might?
I was surprised that Raise Your Glasses went that high. Not that I don't like it, just it was a surprise. I think Psycho Circus, I feel like I'm always a little bit going to be on an island by myself on, because it's one of those things where it's like, no matter how much I talk about it, I'm not going to win over diehard Kiss fans that will never put this in their top 5. And if someone came to me and was like, hey, I want to listen to a Kiss album, what's the first one I should start with? I'm never going to say Psycho Circus. So I feel like it's always going to be like this thing for me in a way, and definitely talking with you guys, like I feel like I've proven like it's not just nostalgia glasses that I have on it. Like I really do have like firm affection for this album, and I think this would be like my Netflix recommends. Like if I got someone to listen to Kiss and then they were like, yeah, I really liked Destroyer, and I really liked some of these other ones, I'd be like, try this one. And then I can recommend for you which way to go in the Kiss catalog from there. But for me, this one will always kind of hold a special place. This was actually, once I was really getting into Kiss, and after, I had that box set, but once I listened to that, I was like, all right, it's time to go out and buy the albums, proper. And this was the first one I bought. I went to, I think they still had Sam Goody or something along those. No, it was Tower Records. I went to Tower Records and bought this CD. And this was like the first one that I remember kind of listening to. And maybe that has something to do with it. But I love the story of this album. I love everything this album is. I'm glad that Psycho Circus still is like part of like the legacy of Kiss and lives on in their show. And I really love this album, minus that one horrible, horrible, horrible song.
Raise your glasses.
Yep, nailed it.
Mike, were you surprised with the ranking at all?
No, I don't think so for the most part. I even had a sneaky suspicion that Journey of a Thousand Years would end up way too high, just because I know a lot of Kiss fans overrate that one. But no, by and large, I mean, it kind of is what it is. Like I said at the very beginning, I don't have the strongest passions when it comes to Psycho Circus, much like I tried to kind of explain in the middle there. Just strange process all around with various band member issues, the producer doing one thing or another, and just management and lawyers and who knows, record labels, and it was the 90s. I don't know. It's just a weird, awkward Kiss album that thankfully has some really awesome stuff to listen to, but is just kind of weird. And I say welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show.
Yeah, and as far as rankings go, I guess I can't be surprised by the ranking because I pretty much called it. There's only like 4 songs that weren't in the exact spot I placed them in.
Yeah.
So, yeah, actually I am surprised by the ranking because I didn't expect to raise your glasses to rate that high.
How was I so right?
I'm the only... Until Steve, I was the only Kiss fan I knew that loved that song. Now I got Steve.
Yeah.
Now there's 2 of you.
Now there's 2.
Both of us.
I mean, I would have it at 4. I like it. It.
So, excellent guess. Where can we find you on the internet? Billy.
Every day on Screen Junkies on YouTube. I will be there. Billy Business. We got all kinds of stuff. So if you are kind of a movie person, we talk about movies, we debate about movies, we have some fun, funny stuff, and honest trailers. That's the big Screen Junkies thing. You may not have seen it, so check it all out.
Applause drop, dude.
Oh, I've used almost no drops this episode. I just forgot about it.
Of all the applause, like, sound effects you could get, you got the weirdest golf clap one. I don't get, like, a full arena of clapping.
I stole it from the BBC, so they applaud like British people.
Fair enough.
Also, as my voice is given out, I still want to give a quick shout out to Screen Junkies in that one of the inspirations for the format of this show was movie fights, in which I liked the way that you guys have rotating panelists and a cast of regulars. I thought that was a really good way to, make the shows more interesting and engaging rather than just being myself and Steve talking. So, yeah. Shout out to Movie Fights and Screen Junkies. Lots of great content. Speaking of people who create great content, Gavin, where can people find you and your excellent band?
Well, I'm in a band named Bent Knee. You can find us on the Facebooks and the Instagrams and the Twitters, Bent Knee Music. You can also go to bentkneemusic.com, that kind of thing. And I also just realized that Millennial Falcon show that I referenced actually is a Screen Junkies show.
So, I didn't want to say anything, but yeah, we had
okay, interesting.
I'm a big fan of that show, and I enjoy the movie fights that I've seen, and I hope there will be more of both. So check out Bent Knee and Screen Junkies.
And Mike, what would you like to plug in addition to Screen Junkies?
So Screen Junkies is amazing. I'm just now hearing about it, but I don't really have a whole lot to plug. I don't have a crazy online presence. If anyone for some reason is listening to this and is like, I guess I could tolerate being friends with Mike Walsh, find me on Facebook. Otherwise, I guess the thing I will plug is something that I don't know how anyone couldn't have heard about it by now. I haven't even watched it yet, so I don't know why I'm plugging it, but I just have to say something here. There's this Motley Crue movie on Netflix called The Dirt. So if you like music and rock music and stuff, I'll be watching it soon. Watch it, and I guess comment on some sort of social media what you thought about it, because I like just when people talk about rock-related things in general. So thank you, guys.
And Greg, where can they find us?
Well, they can find us in this episode about a month after that comment about The Dirt is relevant because we record in advance. But they can find... Wait, why are you having me do this? My voice is shot.
You can find us at lipstickgeneration.com and under the name Lipstick Generation under most social media platforms, unless we don't use them. If you don't find us there, then, I don't know, Google us or something. Or DuckDuckGo us, I guess. Yeah. All right, well, thank you for listening to this episode. Thank you to all our distinguished guests for being here. And I'll just try to fake my way through the outro that I haven't paid attention to in the last year, and hope I don't miss any of the points that Greg normally covers and save his voice. Thank you all for listening. That is our show. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.